Hello and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. Now, I'm trying to get this recorded early today because, let's hope it goes well, because the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament kicks off. So by the time you see this video, I should, technology going okay, have competed in 6 rounds of that, I think. So we'll see how that's going. I'll give you an update tomorrow on whether it did happen, whether the technology survived, whether I could cope with it, and indeed what happened in the crosswords, if possible. But that'll just be an update. I think we'll have to wait a while before we can bring you any footage, even if I manage to record any. Now, yesterday, I do want to mention this as well. No, not yesterday, 2 days ago, I solved this puzzle by Jessica Shaham, congratulating her brother, Ransk, on his engagement, which had happened the day before, when I had done a puzzle by Ransk. And what I forgot to mention was, or indeed work out, was that Jessica had left a note in her email that the cage totals formed a hidden message. And I wanted to bring that to your attention because it's part of the genesis of the puzzle, of course. And the message, I think, is using alphanumerics, so the simplest form of translation from numbers to letters, in which 1 is the letter A. Look at the cage totals, and if we go around this way, C for 3, O for 15, N for 14, G for 7. Then over here, R for 18, A for 1, T for 20, and 19. For S, that gives us congrats. And indeed, we added and do add our congratulations to the engaged couple. Thank you. Sorry, Jessica didn't ask me to mention that. I just suddenly realized that I hadn't. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Now, let's have a look at today's puzzle. Just before I do that, the merchandise has been going very well. We put up some new merchandise in the last week or two, and thank you so much, those who have bought it, as well as looking on the store tab in our YouTube channel. You can also see a few more items if you click on the link in the description field, which is where we also have the links for our apps and our Patreon site, where there is now my extremely hard cryptic crossword video. The American Crossword Puzzle Tournament isn't cryptics, of course. Now, all of that is there. So yeah, that merch has been doing very well, especially the knowledge bomb stuff, intriguingly. But there's also Let's Get Cracking stuff and Bobbins items. So do have a look at that if you're interested in buying a present for a loved one, especially. Now, this puzzle has been sent to us by Panda, who noted the problem Simon was having recently with his computer and the fact that he was going to have to move over to Windows 10. And Panda created a puzzle with 4 windows in it. I have not colored them. They were destined, I think in his, they were in the colors of the Windows logo, red, blue, green, and yellow. So we could do that. Feel free to do it on your version of the puzzle as you solve it, but I think that might just complicate things. Now, when Panda got this tested, I think it may be their first Sudoku, they found out that this is a standard form in a way. Windoku has been well known. We've done a few on the channel where these extra regions sit in exactly these positions, like the Windows logo, or I suppose originally like windows on a house. And they contain the digits from 1 to 9, so they act as 4 extra regions. Now what Panda's done is just provide some little killer clues, and not very many of them, which is absolutely intriguing idea. And what he said in the email was that the fact that this form existed, which he didn't know, meant that he may have effectively reinvented hot water, which I'm going to take as a Belgian equivalent of what I would say as reinventing the wheel, and a really excellent one. I would quite understand that the first person to reinvent hot water wasn't achieving much. But I think he may well have achieved a decent puzzle. Indeed, the reports from testing are that he has. So do give it a go on the link under the video. Don't know much about the difficulty myself, but I'm going to try it now. let's get cracking. These little killer clues, sorry, I should explain, they sum up the totals they're looking at, which can include repeats. Whereas, of course, these cages marked cannot include repeat digits and therefore must be the numbers 1 to 9. Sorry, that's the rules out of the way. Now, we are cracking. How are we cracking? We're looking at this 9 diagonal. There are not many degrees of freedom on that. And there, yes, this is very interesting. The first thing I do when I look at a little killer clue is go, well, those two are in one box, so the minimum they can be is a 1 and a 2. That adds up to 3. Those two are in another, that's another minimum, 1 and a 2. They add up to 6 now with those, so the most this can be is 3. That looks like there are 2 degrees of freedom along here, but this cage gives us a completely different outlook on this matter. The least that 3 digits within the cage that can't include repeats can be is 1, 2, and 3. And then suddenly these could both be 1s or 1 and 2, and that's all they can be. So there's only actually 1 degree of freedom when you look at it from that point of view. These digits must include a 1 and a 2. And then this 10 diagonal, again, 1, 2, 3 minimum in here. But now there's an extra degree of freedom because this is a 10 total, not a 9. It's got to include a 1. And then at the other end, this doesn't have to be... yes, it does. Oh, well, this is very interesting. This is a very interesting feature of Windoku puzzles, that if you do another one, this will help you. Like, it almost doesn't matter what the puzzle is like. This always helps. So there are 4 regions of the grid that each contain the numbers 1 to 9. This is vital. Now, let's first of all consider columns 2, 3, and 4. Obviously, columns 2, 3, and 4 will each contain 3 sets of the digits from 1 to 9. That is the rule about a column. And you know that 2 sets are in these 2 cages that have been marked. Therefore, these other 3 cells must form a 3rd set of the digits from 1 to 9. And therefore, they must all be different. And the same, by this same logic, is going to be true of that area. Actually, I will keep them all highlighted. So that area in columns 6, 7, and 8. This area in rows 2, 3, and 4. And this area in rows 6, 7, and 8. Now, what gets even more interesting in some ways, and I think particularly for this puzzle as I look at it now and realize that this is vital, is that including the circled shapes, including the square shapes, we would now have shaded 72 cells in the grid. And I know it's that number because we've obviously had 4 different sets of the digits from 1 to 9. Now that means that these other 9 cells, the ones left in white here, form the 9th set of the digits from 1 to 9, and therefore they too must also be different. And suddenly that sheds a completely new light on this 9 diagonal, which must be 1 and 2. There can't be 2 1s anymore. Therefore, this 1, 2, 3, 4 is a 1, 2, 3 set with a 1 one end and a 2 the other. Now, that means that the minimum for this cell, which remember is in this same sort of outsides region, can't be a 1 and a 2 anymore. So that has to be at least a 3. And indeed, that now tells us where we can put some digits. 3 there, 1 there, 2 there. And that's because this, at a minimum, has to be 1, 2, 3. And therefore, that is now what it is. 6 there plus 3 plus 1. That's the only way we can get these 9 and 10 to balance. That's a really beautiful break-in. You almost wouldn't believe that Panda hadn't seen Windoku before and found out about this important operation, because I can tell you I'd done probably a dozen Windoku puzzles before probably David McNeil at a competition told me about these extra regions that I had not been aware of before. It makes a huge difference. Now, If we look here, we've got another 3 cells there that have to add up to at least 6. Oh, that just brings this down from 9 as a maximum to 8. That wasn't that helpful. And suddenly this information with these has petered out a bit. So let's have a look at this 9 diagonal within a box. I don't know. It could have, if it was 2, 3, 4, that would allow that to, oh yeah, hang on, these can't be 1s because they're in a box with 2s. This is kind of like a 4th dimension, rows, columns, boxes, but also the extra regions. And sometimes you concentrate on 1 too much. So I've been looking at those extra regions. Right, what number goes in here? That is the point in this extra region. It can't be 1, 2, or 3 because they're already covered. So it's 4, 5, or 6. You can't get more into a 9 sum in the same box. Now that means definitely that these 2 digits are from 1, 2, and 3. You can't have 2 digits over 3 in a 9 sum. 4, 4, 1 is not allowed. So that's not a 3. This is not a 1, just by ordinary Sudoku. Do we get any more than that from this? Now we've got a 2, 3 pair there. That's not a pair. We've got a 1, 2, 3 pair in row 7. I suppose I can look at this 23 clue. Oh, the 31 clue. 1, 2, 3. Yes, remember the 31 is having 3 of these digits from this corner region, as I'm calling it now for some reason. Certainly the central digit is not a corner, but you know what I mean. So these have to be at least 4, at least 4, 5, and 6, as does that. If they were 4, 5, and 6, that's 15. These could be 1, 2, 3, that's 21. Yeah, that's an absolute minimum. This can't be 1, 2, or 3, and nor can this. So they have to be 4 and 5. That's 30, and then this has to be a 1. There we go. That is the next step. So 1 there. This pair is 4 and 5, I just said. I'm sure that's right. This is a 1, 2, 3 triple, and the other 3 are 4, 5, and 6 now. That 1 has fixed this as a 2. Now for this 9 sum, it's clearly got to be 2, 3, 4. That makes that in the same cage a 5. That's not a 5. This isn't a 4. That 2, 1 is looking across the grid at that. That fixes the 1, 2, 3 in this cage. That gives us a 3 there and a 2 there. And now we've got lots of digits in, and I'm feeling a lot better. 2, 3, 1 come out of those cells. I can't resolve any of these yet, but we've got 4, 5, and 6 there. So now this, which is also in this corner group, can't be 4, 5, or 6. In fact, the other 2 cells have to be from 7, 8, and 9. One of those corners is a 9. Now, this 3, 7 would require 1, 2, 4, and 3, 8 would require 1, 2, 3. Yes, this becoming a 3, that's what's done that. Sorry, I hadn't realised that. So 1 and 2 are definitely in that group, and either 3 or 4. What about this one? That's... Oh, maybe we need to start considering the maximums. 2 plus 2 plus 8 is 12. These 2 have to add up to at least 15. It's not quite so helpful. I was getting used... Oh, look, this cell can't be 3, 2, or 4. It sees them all. So that's a 1. This can't be 1 or 3. This now can't be 1 from the cage or 3 from the column. So they've become a 2, 4 pair. I see. 3 is ruled out of all 3 cells. That's very funny. I hadn't noticed that. Okay, so Really neat. So 3, 1, 2, 4 makes 10 plus a 7 to get the 17 total. There we go. Now 9, 11. These have to add up to either 16 or 17 now. So 6 is no longer possible. And one of them is definitely a 9. And that depends on this. Maybe we know what that is because this 1 sees that cell. And that's a 3, that's a 2, that's a 1, 7, 9, 10. These are now 9 and 8. So loads done in these boxes now. That 31 diagonal's sort of done. The 27 diagonal's sort of done. The 17, the 9, the 10. Not this 23 yet, and that's got digits on it. So those 4 digits have to add up to 23 minus 8 is 15. Oh, what are the minimums here? Well, 2 there, 4 there, 4 there, and 4 there. And they already add up to 14. So there's 1 degree of freedom. That one can't use it because it can't be a 3. This one could, so I'm putting in 4 or 5. This one, as far as I can see, could, so 4 or 5. And this one could. In fact, if that's a 4, we've got quite a lot of pressure. But only one of these is a 5. Oh, and that's beautiful. That means, look, one of those two must be a 4. Maybe both of them if that's a 5. But one of them must be a 4. So suddenly this cell can't be. That's really elegant. I love this panda. Excellent. 2 there, 4 there. Now we can fill in some ordinary Sudoku. 2, 2, 2 gives us a 2 up there, 2 there, and I think we're suddenly finished with 2s. This has got to be where the 1 in column 9 goes. That gives us a 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. How about 3s? Not quite so conducive. We've got a 3 there. This 3 has to be in the cage because it needs a 3. And that means this is a 3. And that's a 3. So we're just left with 1 X-wing on 3s. And otherwise we've done 1s, 2s, and 3s. Which is great. Now, let's not forget these extra regions. They could be very valuable. And remember, I was talking about regions, for example, existing here. I don't know quite how to use that information yet. Maybe not there. The 3 is there, 1 and 2. Yeah, maybe that will come into play. Oh, hang on. Of course, exactly the same logic that applied to stop that cell being a 4 applies because at least one of those must be a 4. This one can't be, so that's a 6. And now using our corner region again, we look down at this one. That's a 5. That's a 4. This is fabulous. So that 5 fixes that as a 4. Now, one of these is a 4 and one of them's a 5 by the logic of the 23 diagonal. I haven't even tried this 20 yet. And maybe for good reason. After that 2, the others average at 6. Oh, actually, that's quite low. They can't, hang on. Yes. Okay, this could be 6, 7, 8, or 9. If these didn't have a 3 on the diagonal, I suppose they could be 5 and 6. I can't quite use that yet, I don't think, but I think it's coming into play soon. Right, now there's probably more good ordinary Sudoku to do. I'm just looking at that 4-5 pair again. Well, yeah, they have to be different. 4, 3, 7 up there has stopped that being a 7. And actually it also stops that being a 7 because of this corner group. So those two are an 8, 9 pair. where does 4 go in the bottom row? Well, it can't go in either of these two spaces because of those 4s. So, oh, that's very interesting. It goes in one of these two cells. And that's not so interesting from the point of view of box 7 or box 8 or column 4 or column 2. What it's interesting from is this region where we have used up the 4 now. Somewhere it's down here. And remember, this is a de facto extra region. So this area does not have a 4 because the region's had one already. And therefore this area in row 5 has to have a 4. And we know from that that it has to be here. And that fixes this whole diagonal. That gives us a 5 there. And that gives us a 5 up here by Sudoku. This 4 has put one in one of those two cells. And I bet we can work out in a minute which it is, because that gives us a 4 up there. Yeah, the simple question is, where does 4 go in column 5? And that 4 says not there. That one says not there or there, sorry. So it has to be here. And surely we're going to finish 4s now. There is a 4. Oh, maybe we're not. There is a 4 in this cage. It must be in one of those two cells, but this X-wing actually doesn't resolve with anything that we've done so far. So 4's still to be decided. Now, up here in this cage, we've got everything done apart from a 6, 7. So they're a pair. Then the rest of the cage is 5, 8, and 9. That gives us a triple down here. So everything else in column 1 is a 6 or a 7. We've got 3, 8, and 9 to place in column 5. So that's easily done. That gives us a 3, 8, 9 triple up there. So this becomes a 6. And that fixes the 6, 7 pair that we just did. One of those is a 6. 2 and 4. The 7 is in the cage. What does that mean? Let's have a look at this set. So 3, 5, 8, 9 triple in this sort of row 2, 3, 4 extra region. 2, 1, and 4. These two on the end must be 6 and 7 to make up the numbers, which means these are, that is 8 or 9, and the only place for 5 to go in the row is here. There may be other ways of having worked that out, but these extra these sort of extra regions are very helpful. Now, 1, 3, 4, 5, 2. It doesn't really help. We know that one of these is from 6, 7, and the other one's from 8, 9. We knew that from the column anyway. 7's there, 3's there, but we still need one of that to be one of 8 and 9, and the other one to be up here. But that could be 5 if that wasn't. So, okay, that stuff's not resolved. Now, how about this 20 diagonal now? Right, if that's a 7, these add up to 11, and they'd have to be 3, 8, given what's been used in the cage. If that's a 6, these add up to 12, and they'd have to be 3, 9. So there's definitely a 3 in them, and it's definitely got to be there. That fixes that 3. This is now an 8 or a 9 by those two calculations, which gives us an 8, 9 pair. 7 goes here. We've got a 6, 5 pair there, so this isn't the 5 anymore. Actually, I should have known that wasn't already, because 5 had to be here in the column. So let's just take out some of the pencil marks that are a bit annoying now. There we go. So what else have we learnt from that? We haven't got any more diagonal clues to use, really. I mean, they are still related to each other. They have to add up to 15, but as long as we remember that, we should come to them in due course. Now, in this central box then, 7, 8, and 9 still to fill. That gives us a triple. So down here is a 4, 6 pair. 3, 1. So Right, where does 7 go in this column? Answer, I don't know, but I do know it's in this cage because they're the only 2 spots available. And that means this isn't a 7, so where does 7 go in this column? Must be at the bottom. So that's not bad. 6, 8 or 9 there. That's quite interesting as well. Right, 7 is in this cage in one of those 2 positions. Where's 7 in this cage? Well, I think it's got those 3 positions left. But that's going to use up both the 7s for, it's a sort of virtual X-wing for row 6 and 8. They must be used up in those 2 positions. So these 2 cells can't be a 7. The 7 in this column must now be here. That gives us the 6 over the other side. That makes this a 7. We've got, I still don't know quite where they go. Let's go back to some of these extra regions. So here, 3, 7, 1, 4, 5, 2, 8, 9, and 6 to go. Okay, well, I don't think that's added anything. 7, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5, 6. So these 2 are an 8, 9 pair for that reason. And that is a bit more helpful. 8, 9 pair. This is 5 or 6 for the column, but it can't be 5 for the cage. So 6 there, 5 and 6 there. 1, 6, 2. That's not a 6. So the 7 in the box must go here. In this cage, we still need 8 and 9. Which it looks to me like 8 and 9 are going to be the last numbers to be sorted out. That 6 has resolved this pair and the 4 X-wing that we noticed earlier. This cell is also another of these 8 or 9s from the row. And in the column, that means we have 5 and 6 to place, and they're easily done thanks to the central 6. 6, 2, 3, 4. This is where 5 goes in the cage. And we've got 7, 8, and 9 to go. Now, how can we resolve the remaining bits? So, this diagonal, of course, 7, 10, 12, that's now an 8. And that is going to fix all our 8, 9s. Let's also remember that these 2 were in the same region and had to be different, therefore. So an 8 there, I would have got there in a second anyway, through column 9. But anyway, we get there now, and I think we're going to be finishing off now. Hope we don't end up with a deadly pattern in the middle. Those can't be an 8. 8 is there. That's become an 8. That's a 9. This is a 9 for the cage and the column. This is a 9 for, again, the cage and the column. This is an 8. 6 there. No 9s there. And yes, we can resolve this last pair. That is a really elegant puzzle. I mean, you literally couldn't believe that Panda hadn't seen a Windoku before, because the logic is so tightly wound around those extra regions. You might be able to get to the solution a different way, but I'm absolutely guaranteeing that the knowledge of those extra regions must help. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you definitely learned something from this video. You can see various Windoku puzzles in some weekly newspapers and things, so it's quite a common format, and I hope you come across one again soon. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again later, tomorrow on the channel. Bye for now.